Heyo! Welcome back to Positively Reviewed, episode 4. We're back again. Turns out we had more than 3 episodes. We figured it out. We weren't sure. We only had 3 planned initially. But I'm Jon. I'm a Skrull disguised as Jon. You'll figure that out later. And Nessa's the mother of all dragons. Today, we're talking about Dota, Dragon's Blood. But before we get started, let me pose a question to you, Nessa. If you could transform into any particular being, animal or otherwise, which one are you picking?
I forget. Was it on this podcast we talked about how much I enjoyed anacondas? Because this was a conversation I had at some point recently.
I think you talked about Anaconda the movie.
Yes. Can I just be an anaconda?
You just want to be an anaconda.
I just want to be an anaconda.
Any particular reason?
You can swallow people, probably. You can swallow large things. Just
That's entire. Useful. So you want to be an anaconda because you got a big mouth. You already have that one covered, so you don't need it to be a snake for that.
Yes, but I will come equipped with, crushing coils of death.
Gotcha. So you want the grip of death and the ability to eat things whole.
Yes.
Okay. Well, I could work with that one. I didn't think about it. I come up with these questions, and my plan is, I'll ask Nessa, and then I'll hope she doesn't think to be like, wait, what would you be? But I know you're going to ask. But I don't think that far. I'm like, nah, it's fine. I'll just try and bypass the question. I didn't think about it at all. I would be a platypus.
A platypus?
Because they are God's great creation in this world. Whatever that means, that's what I'm going with.
Sure. Yeah, I will accept that as an answer. Also, there's Perry the platypus.
Yeah, well,
which is the single greatest animated character.
Duzendor, Doozelmife, what's his? Who's his rival?
If you hadn't have said it, I could have told you. But now I have
said it.
Duzendorf bouncing around in my head, and I'm like, I don't know. I don't know anymore.
It's a great. For those who don't know,
Doofenshmirtz.
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 Shorts, Schmites.
Schmirtz.
You sure? You sure about that one? I don't know. I'll just believe it. Whatever it is, it's one of the many things we just said. What do we do, Nessa?
Well, we find the most amazing, awesome content in existence. And then we bring it here, give you all kinds of spoilers so you know exactly what you're in for, and we tell you how awesome it is. So, small disclaimer, if you are looking for objective opinions, this may not be the podcast for you, but if you need a hit of serotonin, Jon and I got you covered.
Nice, positive, and probably some spoilers. That's your warning right now. If you're looking for a non-biased review, this ain't for it, because we are only talking about positive, and we are going to be talking spoilers. We are talking about a TV show that only has 1 season. It's kind of hard not to talk about spoilers. Although, if you've started the show at all, it's pretty easy to see the direction the show's going in. So it's, it shouldn't be too bad on the spoiler front out of what it is. So
that is accurate. And if you want to follow along with the podcast, catch any of the other episodes, Pause Reviewed Pod, POS Reviewed POD on Twitter, Instagram, YouTube, Podbean, Spotify, all those wonderful things. Positively Reviewed Podcast. That's where you're going to find us. So we're in my world this week. We are in the Dota world. We're looking at Dota Dragon's Blood, the anime. We beat League of Legends to the punch. We got out before their anime got out. But Joker has obliged me. He's gone through and watched. He's done some wonderful research. So why don't you introduce our glorious best content ever?
Today, like Nessa said, we're in her wheelhouse. The last few weeks, first 3 episodes were kind of things were on my head initially, and were relevant at the time, I think. But Marvel, especially last week, is my wheelhouse, and so now we decided to go over to Nessa's wheelhouse. I mentioned that I was a Skrull. Side note for the Marvel stuff, Secret Wars was announced recently, and I'm just saying, everyone in Marvel is a Skrull. They're all Skrulls. Spider-Man, he's a Skrull. Tony Stark, he's a Skrull. And a dead one at that. All of them. Nick Fury is the only one who's not a Skrull. That's what it comes down to.
Wait, is a Skrull like...
Did you watch Captain Marvel?
Like a piece of paper?
No, not a Skrull.
Oh, Skrull, like the alien. Got it.
Yeah, the green aliens that could transform. That's the whole Marvel Secret Wars. The whole thing is that a bunch of people in the world, in our government, turned out to be Skrull, and so it was a secret invasion that was like Hydra. They're just doing the whole Hydra thing again, but this time we're gonna find out they're gonna have some twists. I'm now trying to figure out what superheroes are gonna be found out to be Skrull, and then they're gonna be removed from the Marvel universe indefinitely. Pretty much everyone is what I believe is going to happen. But anyways, today we're talking about Dota, Dragon's Blood, and why it's the greatest piece of media ever created. Greatest piece of content to grace this earth. It was made by Studio Mir, Kaiju Boulevard, and produced by Production Reeve, or it was animated by Production Reeve. Is the animation studio. It's created by Ashley Edward Miller, who we will mention in just a second. We'll actually get to that in the filler section because we have some fun things there. The director was Park So-young, as well as Kim Yoo-jong. I apologize if I mispronounced that. You'll hear the copy. We decide to switch it up. You'll hear the copy of what the heck Dragon's Blood is at the end. But pretty much, it's based on Dota. You know that video game? You might have heard of the video game. It's a what is that? It's not an RTS. MOBA.
It actually is an RTS. Like, people get upset if you call it a MOBA because they're like, well, it's not really a MOBA. It's really an RTS.
But I mean, isn't it more MOBA than it is RTS? Because to me, an RTS is very much like the buildings and fortifications and spawn troops to send it across. Whereas this one, you're playing a single character. Like, to me, that was really the difference between how they work. But maybe I'm wrong.
I don't disagree with you, but real-time strategy is just you are acting out strategy in real time, and Dota often gets compared to chess. So
don't get me started. John has his feelings on how we categorize our gaming genres. I don't like it. Not a fan. I think it's wrong because that's exactly, every game is an RTS, pretty much. Every game you're reenacting strategies in real time. Okay, it's all except maybe turn-based. I guess Pokemon and stuff you're not necessarily, because they're pausing.
Not real time.
But I mean, if you're playing an FPS, it's all real time. Like, it's all bad. I don't like it. There's better ways for us to do that. But let's talk about.
We'll go with MOBA.
Let's talk about past experience. I'll start because mine's nice and short. What is Dota? Is my past experience. I've known Dota a while. I have watched some eSports tournaments, but I watch all the eSports in general. So I do know what Dota is. I've never actually played the game, but I know of it. That's about my past experience, which was actually kind of cool because I'm used to watching these kind of shows or other media based on a franchise while knowing other things like Resident Evil, any of the Marvel stuff, a lot of the TV shows like the Assassin's Creed movies, or anything, Tomb Raider. All of the Mortal Kombat we just talked about. All right. Anyways, but all of those things, I at least have some knowledge or experience, whether it's just I played a little bit of the games, or I kind of went into like a deep dive lore kind of thing into it. I didn't really do that with Dota. I don't know Dota at all. So going into this, I did sit there knowing it's a video game. I sat there every time. I'm like, I don't know which characters are actually characters in the game, other than like obviously the main characters. But I'm like, maybe that character is a character in the game, but I'm not actually sure. They could be. Maybe they're just added to the show. I don't know. So it was actually kind of fun that watching the show with having almost no knowledge of the game prior. So, but let's actually go on to Nessa's, because she is an esports commentator for Dota. Very hardcore Dota player. She lives and breathes Dota. That's what it comes down to.
Yeah, I've got over 9,000 hours in the game.
That's a little bit.
And yeah, I've been playing it since 2012, and I stream it pretty much every single weekday except podcast day, and play it on the weekends when I have time, and I make content for it and try and work in the pro scene when I can, and I love it. If you don't know what Dota is, which isn't really necessary for watching the anime, but a basic overview of it.
I just want to. It's very not. You don't need to know anything about the game to enjoy this. I don't know if I would have enjoyed it more if I knew things. I probably would have, but I'll tell you first off, I really actually enjoyed this series. So, but continue.
So Dota is actually originally built from a Warcraft 3 mod, or it was a mod. It was a special custom mode in Warcraft 3, so it builds off of Warcraft 3 characters and some of their lore, and it got taken out of that and developed by Valve outside of Blizzard as an independent game. So names were changed to protect the innocent, but to protect the copyright. But that's why kind of Dota works, even if you don't know anything about the game, because the game itself is a 5v5. You're trying to destroy the other people's base, and you work on a team of 5 with your 5 characters and try and kill the other person's base using all your unique spells and how your heroes work together and everything. But those heroes all have individual backstories that kind of come from the Blizzard universe without overly acknowledging that they come from the Blizzard universe. So a lot of these characters have a little bit of story to them, and that's what the anime kind of drew from to develop the story and the characters and everything. So playing the game's great. It's a lot of fun. We get to have the biggest, shiniest prize pool in all of esports, and probably some of the most drama in all of esports, but completely unnecessary to engage with. The anime on its own is really great, and the really cool thing is the anime only touches on a couple select characters, and Dota has, 118, 120, something like that, heroes. So the expansion possibilities for this world are massive, just undeniably massive.
Which I'm excited for. I mean, they showed a few of the characters as is, and like I said, I don't recognize any of them for the game, but knowing that it is a game and how diverse characters tend to be, in video games, they don't like to have the exact same character duplicated over and over again. So they always have to make very unique characters. So it's the same thing with Mortal Kombat, is they've got a big array of lore and characters to pick from that they will pull from for potentially years to come. So hopefully years to come. But that's, so we'll roll right into the facts section here. We actually only got a few facts. It was hard for me to find facts. I wrote all the facts. I know Nessa's the Dota expert, but I write all the facts, so I decided to see what I could find. It's kind of hard to find stuff about a show that's only had one season when the game has been out for 2 games have been out for God knows how many years now. So a lot of these are actually going to be facts about the video game, because I think it ties in. I mean, some of that money got funneled over to this project and other... the reason this show was a success was partly because of how successful the games have been. So I think it's important to have that. So I'll let you start out with the you usually read the facts. I think you read the facts already because I did ask. I was like, look, I didn't find a lot of facts that were super interesting about the show, but this is the Nessa show this week. So I'm just hoping that she carries the episode by having a lot of filler facts to throw in there on top of the very basic ones that I got.
Well, I mean, as we go through your impressions and everything in the show, I think we'll add to it. But we'll start out with some basic background for you guys about the Dota Dragon's Blood anime. So there may not be a lot of info on cost for the show itself, but the game Dota 2, and I'm very curious where you pulled these numbers from, but in 2015 made $18 million a month, which was $600,000 a day, which, coincidentally is the cost to raise a child in the Bay Area. And in that year, Valve spent $20 million on tournaments.
I brought it back. I gave it for Nessa. Yeah. I knew she was upset the last few episodes that I hadn't actually figured out. It's tough to figure out when we're talking millions of dollars. It's hard to convert it to like where can you raise kids at? So $600 a day. Could you imagine making $600,000 a day? That's crazy. So, but yeah, back in 2015, I couldn't find as much updated numbers, but in 2015, so like 6 years ago, which is Dota 2 was very much newer, it was making $18 million a month. Now, I hate to throw this in there because I don't know. Nessa, how do you feel about League? Let's just digress here.
I think it's fine.
Okay, all right. I mean, okay. I didn't know if you had a biased automatic hatred because you're like, it's our rival. I have to hate it.
So for me, it's whichever one you played first.
Okay.
Is what you end up really gravitating to, because they're both such an immense amount of information, just learning all of the champions for League, heroes for Dota, that it's kind of like whatever one you learn first or gravitate towards or have that friend group that plays, that's the one you're gonna like and know, because it's too much information to devote yourself to both games. So you have to pick one and then you have to like defend your pick.
Got it. So yeah, you don't have the brain space for both games.
Yeah, on that front though, there's a reason that Dota players are the way they are about, like, so League players are like, oh, Dota, they're so pretentious, like, whatever, I don't want to deal with it. Dota players are like, aw, your kiddie pool is so cute. Because
so they are pretentious is what you're telling me.
Yes, but like I'm gonna jump on that bandwagon because League is unbelievably easy. At the base level.
Throw the fire.
So like at really high levels, League is obviously challenging. I still think that Dota is harder because Dota in general, like just looking at the stats, typically has more heroes in the competitive playing pool. So the diversity of strategies and like the mental game you have to play is a lot higher in Dota, because like 115 heroes will be viable, even though we only have 120. Whereas in League, it's like 40 heroes are viable, but they'll have 200 something of them. So in League, the drafting strategy and understanding how to play against different heroes, that's a lower ceiling. But high level, they're both very hard. However, entry level League of Legends is like the easiest thing in the world. And I know I come from a Dota background, so that was easier for me, but I played this game and it's just like all of the things you have to handle in Dota, all the extra mechanics aren't there. And so it's very relaxing. It's a very relaxing, low stress game to play at the lower levels.
So you've heard it here first. Dota is a positive review. Greatest MOBA ever created, officially determined by Nessa today, better than League by about 600,000%. So
yes.
Okay, the reason why I asked that question is because I was saying that in 2015, Dota 2 was making $18 million a month. League of Legends was making $18 million every 5 days. So yeah, it was making it was making the same thing Dota was making in a month in about 5 days. So, which League is a more played game overall. Probably because it's easier, as Nessa has said, is, it just appeases those, casual kind of garbage gamers that don't deserve to play with people like Nessa. Okay? They're not good enough to play. So, fair enough.
Oh, goodness.
But yeah, in that same year of that, they spent $20 million on tournaments. Now, you being in the more esports world, Dota 2 has always had some really big prize pools, which is insane. And now let's say Dota is free to play, right?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
I said that. I honestly did not know, but it's free to play. So this is the power I'm just throwing out there. Side tangent. This is the power of cosmetics. Just people making their characters look different. I guess unlocking champions. I'm guessing you could also pay to unlock champions as well, instead of just playing.
No, they're all unlocked.
Oh, okay,
they're completely,
cool.
everything is unlocked.
So it's not League, who does lock their characters behind a paywall unless you play. So, see? Look, Dota already, arguably and unequivocally, you know what? Can't say that word, but we got it. It's better. Dota's determined better than League in all ways. But yeah, that's the power of cosmetics. They made so much money off people just changing the look of their characters that they can support $20 million in tournaments.
Well, would you like a fun fact?
Yes, that's the reason why these facts are really basic, is so that you could give me the actual good facts.
Yes, we can add in.
You are my Wikipedia
fun
page.
Fact. Yeah, so the International 10, which was supposed to happen 2020, and for obvious reasons did not. So Valve contributes $1.6 million to the prize pool of every international. So the very first international back in 2011, before Dota 2 was even released and available to the public, Valve went to a bunch of Dota 1 teams and brought them out to Seattle and gave them Dota 2 and had them play for like a month or two and then ran the international. $1.6 million was the total prize pool for TI1. So that first place walked away with $1 million.
Gotcha.
At TI3, they opened up crowdfunding and created a battle pass filled with cosmetics and perks and everything. And so that TI was, I don't know, 3.4 point something. It's 3 to 4 million. And every single year that prize pool has risen to now for TI10, that crowdfunded prize pool hit $40 million.
40 million? My God.
And that's 25% of what fans spend on the battle pass goes to the prize pool.
Oh my God.
Approximately $160 million was spent by the Dota community over the space of like 4 months on the battle pass.
That's
so you
insanity.
can kind of see why Netflix greenlit an anime.
Yeah, I was gonna say, I was like, 3.4 million, that's not too crazy. Halo 5 had, just from their, they kind of did crowdfunding with their gold packs and unlocks as well, was 50%, 10%? I don't remember, it was 50 or 10% of whatever people spent on Halo 5 went to one of the prize pools for the Worlds for Halo 5, which got it up to 2.1 million. But 40 million for what, this last season is what you're telling me? Or
yeah, so it got postponed. So now when the international happens in Sweden in a few months in August, the prize pool will be 40 million.
Is that capped there, or is it still rising, technically speaking?
I believe they capped it because if they had 2 years of crowdfunding, next year it would be impossible to beat their previous record. Right? Every year the prize pool's gone up.
Is they have to beat their record?
I think because of the way that Dota works, everything is around the international. Like, nothing else is important. And that's the only PR that Dota ever gets. That's Valve's, like, entire marketing strategy.
Yeah, Valve doesn't do a lot of marketing. So
yeah, so the first time that the prize pool doesn't top the previous years is like the sign that Dota's dead. Like the moment it doesn't happen, like Dota will die. Is the interpretation. So it has to.
So it has. Okay. So you hear it. You know, if you think you're in the wrong business, you are. You could be making 40. What? I don't even know what the.
So
what,
Valve made 120 million.
Right. You could be making these games, or you could just be an esports champion. It's super easy, obviously, to be number one in the world at a video game. It's not difficult at all. So yeah, just quit your job and become a gamer is what I'm telling you. So it'll work out for you. So how much is going to first place out of a 40 million? What it would be like? A first place team is that like
okay? So
30 million?
The distribution changes every year.
Right, because I mean,
because
it gets pretty extreme.
Yeah, what happened? Another fun fact for you is Fortnite did their huge $100 million tournament series, and they had first place for Fortnite World Champion or whatever was going to get $3.3 million, which was going to break the record for the largest prize payout to an individual person in esports history ever.
Right. I
kid you not, the TI prize pool distribution for that year changed the percentage that went to first place, so that first place, each individual, like if you split it 5 ways, those players got a few 100,000 more than whatever the Fortnite World Champion got.
Why wouldn't
they? Dota could I swear it was intentional. Like no one is going to be able to argue this with me.
So how does Dota?
We don't know prize pool distribution yet.
How does Dota have a bigger prize? And I apologize, but this is now just us talking, because now I don't know enough about this stuff that I don't know if anyone cares about this. You probably don't, but I'm interested in this, so we're talking about it. But like, how does Dota have bigger prize pools than something like League then? Because does League just not do crowdfunding for it, or?
League did do crowdfunding, and their prize pool didn't even get close. But League does crowdfunding differently. So rather than doing an entire so the way that Valve does the battle passes is you buy the base battle pass. It's like 10 levels, and you unlock a couple of things. And you can complete challenges and play to level it up, but you will never level it up very far. And so you will buy bundles to level it more. And they will release content for the Battle Pass every couple of weeks. A new skin, a new special map mode, new super toxic taunts that you can use in-game. They profit massively off of in-game toxicity. I'm not even kidding. Like, this is like straight up a thing that they do. And to just bleed everybody dry over the course of these 4 or 5 months by continuous hats and more things that they put out so that people keep spending money. When League did crowdfunding, they did a single skin, and they did all of the sales from this skin. A percentage will go to the prize pool.
Oh yeah, that's nothing.
And yeah, well, so that's very different.
So Dota doing, like, it's a force paying battle pass. Most games in general do battle passes where you have to buy. They have a free and a premium. You buy the premium for like $20. But then you have to actually play. You're forced to play the game to finish it. You have to play basically a certain amount of hours, and you'll be able to get enough XP or challenges or whatever to finish it. But it sounds like Dota, they don't care about that. They're just like, look, you need to pay if you want everything. So
yes, exactly. I mean, I spent probably a couple hundred last year to get the skins that I wanted overall. Yeah.
That's okay.
So
we won't talk about how much I spend on microtransactions. It's fine. I play a mobile game. Mobile games are pay to win by design. So we don't need to talk about that.
Yeah. I would say that my stream definitely funded some of it, because they were like, no, you absolutely must have this skin, and then would donate and be like, go buy battle pass levels. So I was like, well, okay.
That's the way you do it. The real reasons why we want to become super big popular streamers is so that we can buy everything in battle passes and our viewers pay for it all. Give us free money is what I'm asking.
Accurate.
All right, so that's back to the facts. Let's go back to talk about that $18 million a month. With $18 million, this was kind of hard to look up because one particular thing came up, and it's Floyd Mayweather's billionaire watch. There's a company called Billionaires. It's the Billionaires Club. They commissioned a specific watch for Floyd Mayweather that was made by Jacob & Co. Fun fact, that is my dream watch, by the way. Not his particularly, but Jacob & Co. have some incredibly cool, they have these like astronomical planetarium watches and stuff like that, that I think it's like $2.1 million or no. I think the lowest end one, okay, is like $400,000. That's my dream watch. So I'm a fan of that company. But yeah, that was kind of the only big thing that came up because every Google page for like 10 plus Google pages were just talking about this watch that was all diamond encrusted, see-through, crazy looking watch for Floyd Mayweather, and then also a Bugatti La Voiture Noir. Sure, I said that correct. It's a car. They made Bugatti made a very specific car. I don't know how to explain the look of a car because I'm not a car guy, but the best word is when I saw it, the word that popped in my head is phantom. So whatever that means to you, sure, that's what it looks like. Oh, you know what? It looks like Batman's car. That's the Batmobile. It kind of looked like the super sleek looking, not the big beefy one from the movie, from the Christopher Nolan movies, but the kind of almost animated, sleek, slender one of the animated series of the Batman Beyond.
So
maybe
if you want a Batmobile, just be Valve for a month.
Yeah, that's it.
And you're set.
And yeah, cost to raise a child is in the Bay Area. $600,000. So
every day in 2015, Valve could have raised a child in the Bay Area.
Yep.
This is San Francisco, right? That's the Bay Area?
Yes. That is, I think, does that include LA as well? I don't know. How big is the Bay Area in California? I've been there many times.
I feel like LA is too far away. I feel like it's like the north.
Okay, whatever the Bay Area is, 600,000. That's almost 3 times the cost of the average to raise a kid in the U.S. So, once again, what are you spending on your children? Okay, actually, it's just the Bay Area. It's just living there.
Yeah.
It's not even, let's be honest, that $600K isn't actually going to the kid. It's going to the housing that the kid lives under. Mm-hmm. That's about it. Mm-hmm. And also all of their kombuchas that they're feeding their kids, because...
Yeah. All right, well, second fact.
Yeah.
We've given you got so many facts. I told you I was going to have them. On the first 2 days after release, Dota Dragon's Blood was the most watched show in Bolivia, Bulgaria, Peru, the Philippines, Russia, Serbia, Ukraine, and Vietnam.
No U.S. in that.
Which does not surprise me.
Which was a surprise.
No. United States is not known. NA is not known for its Dota scene. Dota is really, really big in South America, Europe, especially Eastern Europe, and Southeast Asia and China. I do not know if this show was allowed in China.
Probably not.
But based on its content, I'm not sure that it was allowed there. Had it been, or if it was altered or somehow, I don't know enough about the stats on that. But Dota is also very popular in China. But yeah, very, very popular in Peru. So Peru makes a lot of sense. Incredibly popular in the Philippines.
Yeah, it's a lot of South American countries there. So yeah.
And so Southeast Asia, South American, Eastern Europe, like those are all absolutely massive Dota fans. So it tracks.
It's interesting seeing those things and hearing that, because like I don't know those things, but yeah, I mean, I think everyone in the US a lot of times believes that whatever the game is that they're playing is probably the most popular in the US, because we are an entertainment capital of the world.
Yeah.
But it's interesting, like Gears of War is a good example. Its biggest player base is actually in Mexico. So I mean, it's still North America, but it's Mexico has the most amount of like hardcore Gears of War fans out there. So it's just interesting knowing these random, like, hey, other places than America exist. They're out there.
Remember?
Maybe go to them or remember about them sometimes. So
yeah, remember that they exist. That's a side tangent we talk about on live streaming services. An argument I have to have with people regularly. Twitch is not the biggest one in the scene, in case you're curious, but that can be a conversation for another time. Our last fact here is that Dota 2 was built on only 1 gigabyte or bit. No, that's a byte. It's capital B. Gigabyte of memory.
yes.
John, how do you know this?
So this is, I had a friend, my family has a friend who used to work at Valve. A lot of respect, because he did a very particular thing that very few people in the world know how to do and know how to do well, which is he was a programmer for Valve. He wasn't a college graduate or anything like that, but he specifically was good at memory allocation stuff, which is not something we see these days pretty much at all. That's why our games are 200 gig nowadays. Call of Duty is 100 and, just the Warzone game mode is like 110 gigabytes. It's insanity. So yeah, his job was specifically, he worked on pretty much all the games at once. His job was to go yell at people when they were using up too much memory. When someone is like, hey, look at this really cool animation I made for Dota 2. Look at this really cool flame effect I made for this guy's sword. He'll come up and be like, you're taking up 500 megabytes of our 1 gig of space. You need to chill. He's like, make it look as good, but do it way more efficiently. And if they didn't know how to really work it, that was partly his job, is he would actually recode other people's code to be more efficient. So he was an efficiency programmer. It was really cool. But yeah, so I've visited Valve before. I've taken a tour of their place. I got a Balloonicorn, and I got to see the Counter-Strike and TF2 and all that stuff. They were working on Dota 2 while I was there. So it hadn't even been released yet. So I was talking, but yeah, it was only built on 1 gig of memory, which is very small, by the way. It's very, very small compared to most games these days. So that's my little fun kind of deep dive fact. So
I find that fascinating. All right. Well, are we ready for like the meaty meat, the show itself?
Yeah. Do we need to
dive in?
Do we need to be filled up at all, baby? That's how I have it written. No, I think we need some fill. You got any other facts for us?
I mean, there's some, but I want them in context of the show.
Okay. Well,
I want to dive into the show before we.
I'll have questions because, as I said, going in knowing none of this, I'm now very curious. I'm gonna tell you. I will. One of these days, I'm gonna be doing a deep dive into the Dota lore. I'm just gonna be
I have
wiki
a
surfing
YouTube channel
everything.
For you.
So,
no, there is a. Well, this is okay. I got a fact for you. So there's a content creator very popular in Dota called Sir Action Slacks, and he does these video series, and he's considered the lore master, and he's made us his brand to know everything about lore. And I'm still not sure if he makes it all up or not. I haven't actually figured that out because I've never watched any of his. But he makes these things called loregasms that like deep dive into the lore. And the show creator, I asked him this when I interviewed the guy who like wrote and made the whole anime. Like, did you consult with Slacks? And he was like, yes, actually, I watched Loregasms, and those were a big inspiration for, guiding this show. And I'm just like, you've got to be freaking kidding me. So if you want to do a deep dive, search for Loregasms or Action Slacks. You're going to find what you need on the topic.
Search it on the YouTube search bar, not on Google. You might get something different.
That's true. That's valid.
No, you'll probably get the same thing. But yeah, we'll get into this. So here's the copy. I'll let Nessa. Nessa likes reading the copy, at least kind of. So copy's this, and then we'll talk about a little bit before we get into it as well.
So, the series premiered on Netflix on March 25th, 2021. Dragon's Blood is presented in a style that combines anime with Western animation. A second season is currently in the works after the initial 8-episode series. Set in a fantasy world, the story follows Dragon Knight Davion, who hunts dragons to make the world a safer place. In a battle between demons and dragons, an elder dragon merges his soul with Davion. Along with the moon princess Mirana, Davion pursues a journey to stop the demon Terrorblade, who wants to kill dragons and collect their souls. This also reminds me of another fact I forgot to tell you. Studio Mir, people that made this, are the same people that made Legend of Korra.
Oh, that's where I remember them from. I haven't started. I'm on the last episode of rewatching The Last Airbender, Avatar The Last Airbender. So, and I have never actually watched Legend of Korra, so that's immediately going to be happening right after it. I only got about halfway. I didn't know. Did you know Avatar was only 3 seasons? They only had 3.
I felt like I watched that.
One. I thought I watched that for like years, but I only watched it for a year and a half because I stopped midway through the second season. It wasn't because I stopped enjoying it. That show is incredible, by the way. I've been rewatching it. Voice actors. I was very surprised by some. Mark Hamill is in it. He's the dragon. Anyways, I'm digressing. Point is, Legend of Korra. I'm going to be getting that soon, so that's fun. And I actually like this style of animation. I like all of it, so it's good. I wanted to also mention Ashley Miller again, really quick. So he was the screenwriter as well as the creator for this. Mentioned him earlier, and he's the brains. He's the brains behind the Dragon's Blood show.
Yes.
If you don't know him, he worked on Thor. So he was one of the writers for Thor. He worked on X-Men First Class, which was great. He worked on Terminator, the Sarah Connor Chronicles, which I was a fan of that show. Summer Glau was in it, which I'm a fan of her because she's from Firefly / Serenity. So any of those actors in anything I love immediately. So I was a fan of the Sarah Connor. It wasn't a good show, but I liked it. But a bunch of other Twilight, I said Andromeda, Twilight, Fringe, worked on that a little bit. But the important one, Agent Cody Banks. That's also one that Miller worked on. So he's got a few things under his belt. But what we really wanted to talk about is, you got to interview him for a DreamHack and eSports kind of thing, as well as just talking about the show before it released. I saw the interview. It was very good, very interesting. I love hearing you talking about it. So what was that like? You got to meet the writer for the show.
It was wild because the show got announced and I tracked the writer down and messaged him on Twitter, and he instantly replied back and was over the moon excited, and we had the interview set up for the next week, and then I had to sit on the interview for like 2 or 3 weeks because of our release schedule at DreamHack. Like it wasn't being released yet. We filmed it ahead of time, and it was torturing me because there was all these questions people were asking and all these things they wanted to know, and I was like, I have this interview, like, let me share it. But the guy was great. He was really, really passionate about fully immersing himself in Dota. Like I said, he went and watched those Lorgasms. He tried to figure it all out. The project had started before he came on, and then he came on and kind of changed the direction and was really like the wings beneath it going places. And I mean, he was funny and he was memey and he knew how to mess with people and he had like the spirit of Dota down, and I was just like, guys, it's gonna be great. And so there's something that I don't know if you noticed this. Actually, well, I'm gonna ask you this question. We'll dive into the meat of the episodes. Did you feel that the expletives were overpopulated? Do you think that the show was too mature?
No, I don't think so.
Okay.
I don't know.
So the reaction from a lot of people in the Dota community was all of like these like F-bombs are excessive and they make no sense and they don't work contextually. Now, the really cool thing was when I interviewed Ashley, he said that the show is supposed to be mature.
Right.
And when you go to watch an anime, that's not always what you expect. But Dota is not, it's not Fortnite. It's not Roblox. It's not meant for little kids. The story was really, really mature. I think they have like orgy corpse room. Was what he was saying? Is like in writing part of it, that's what they referred to as like one of the rooms in the show. And I was like, okay. And so he said he leaned in really heavily on the mature tone in the first episode to set the tone for the rest of the series, so you knew what to expect. And so everyone was saying, wow, it was so heavy-handed. And I was sitting here and I was like, yeah, but that was an intentional choice to get your mind into the right frame for what's in the show, because that is an important thing to say. Is that I know for this podcast, we try and be not too adult. However, the show itself is for mature audiences.
There's blood, gore, sex, all that.
Yeah, with a lot of different people all at once in all of those scenarios. So it was mature, and he really wanted to set that tone. And he said he really pushed boundaries in the first couple episodes to make sure that was there, and you understood it, and you knew what you were getting into, because it was supposed to be dark and violent and twisty and everything.
I maybe it's just a change of the times in how we do movies and TV shows, but I'll be honest, watching this, I didn't think it was any different than a lot of shows that are coming out nowadays. So, with The Boys and Invincible and a lot, both animated and live action shows and stuff that have a lot more blood, gore, and sex all involved in that, and a lot more swearing in general. I think maybe because I was coming off of Invincible, which does have quite a bit of swearing in it, this didn't feel bad at all. Like, yeah, there's language, but maybe I'm just used to it at this point. So I guess I could see where the community is coming from there. But overall, I didn't think it was heavy-handed at all. I thought it was pretty average for this kind of show. It kind of what I expected to be real. So
yeah, no, I thought it was the right amount, because it was only a few. Like, it really wasn't. It wasn't like every other word. It wasn't like you were watching a Tarantino movie or something.
Yeah, it was in specific places that made sense.
Yeah. Okay. That was my fun fact from interviewing Ashley, though. And I don't know if you want to do the characters because you were so excited about that actor that you found out was in it, or if you want to dive into the story, because they're both pretty meaty.
I mean, let's start with the story, and then we'll get into the characters. I mean, I am excited for the screw it. We're going characters. Yeah, I'm excited for the characters. We got two big people in here that I am huge fans of. Now there's a lot of other ones I recognize and I'm not as big of fans of, but Yuri Lowenthal is Davion. Now Yuri Lowenthal is an incredible voice actor. Most people know him as Sasuke from Naruto, but more importantly, people would probably recognize him as he is currently the Peter Parker in the Spider-Man video games. So that's who is kind of big. But he's been around the block for a while. Incredible voice actor. The ending of I have only cried 2 times during any video games. The ending of the Marvel Spider-Man, the latest, not the Miles Morales, but the latest video game, was one of those times, because the voice acting and just oh my god, it was incredible. Yeah, Yuri Lowenthal is amazing. The other one, so he's playing as Davion, which is the Dragon Knight, the main character of the show. He gets possessed by a dragon and turns him into a person who can now also turn into a dragon / demon, which is pretty cool. I mean, I like the look. That's one of it is Davion, it sounds like, can turn into a different form in the game, right?
Yes. So in Dota, the game, you are the Dragon Knight, Davion, and you're walking around whacking stuff with your sword. And then when you get your ultimate turns you into a dragon, and you become a ranged attack, and you get bonuses, and your spells change how they work a little bit. And when you're in dragon form, you get to do all this extra cool stuff. So that did match up rather nicely. Okay, so Yuri Lowenthal, Davion, the Dragon Knight, the one who is fused with Slyrak, one of the Elder Dragons and everything. That's your favorite dude. Who's the other one you got excited about? Are you muted? I think you're muted.
It's Troy Baker. I was muted. It's Troy Baker. That's the other one. He's the Invoker, or the Sage, or Luna, whatever you want to call him. He's an old looking dude who's been living in a tower in the middle of nowhere, has a giant library and his magic powers, and is an elf and sage. It's Troy Baker. I'm a big fan of Troy Baker. He's done stuff like he played the Joker in one of the games for the Batman series. He was the latest one I just had was there was the villain, I can't remember, the scary monster thing from The Medium. Did a phenomenal job with that character. Troy Baker's in everything. Big fan of Troy Baker. I think him and Nolan North are like the two legendary voice actors in video games. Apologies. The best way to explain, like, everyone knows those two names. They are in everything. Any game that has anyone, they're in there. Like, again, Troy Baker was in Far Cry. He was Pagan Min. Nolan North is, in Uncharted and a bunch of other stuff. Like, those are the two. I love the way he phrased. He's good friends with the Rooster Teeth people. On one of their podcasts, someone asked him the question, how do I become a video game voice actor? His joke response, he's a really funny guy. His joke response was, wait for me or Nolan North to retire. He's like, that's about it. That's the only way you're getting any jobs. So I'm a big fan of Troy Baker. And so, yeah, immediately seeing those two actors, I was like, I love this series. Doesn't matter. I know I'm going to enjoy them when they come in. So, but yeah, those are my two. There's a bunch of other people like Tony Todd, Josh Keaton, Freya Tingley, and JB Blanc, who are also in these as a slew of characters. So it's good.
Okay, so I want to ask you, that some of these characters are in the game. It's obvious that some of them.
Yes.
What are some of the characters that you're not sure
Marcy.
Whether or not they're in Dota? You don't know? Okay, Marcy.
Marcy, yeah. So Marana, who's kind of the supporting actor in this, who's teamed up with Davion. I mean, she's a main character. I don't know if she's, she'd be considered supporting, but she has a mute bodyguard named Marcy, who is badass. She's the secret weapon that Marana has, that you see her when she goes off, man. Everyone around her is gone when she kicks into action. So but yeah, is she in that at all?
So Marcy is not in the game.
I didn't think so.
When the anime came out, Valve had announced that they were going to release a new hero soon. And there was a new hero that got released a few weeks after the anime came out, like a month or something after it. And everybody was just like, it has to be Marcy. Like, please be Marcy. Let's go. And everyone was saying, well, maybe, like, I was saying, oh, it'd be really cool if it was Salamene because she's not in the game. And other people were like, I think it's going to be Fimrin. I have a hard time saying that one. And all of this, but like the subreddit, like all of these fan art and everything. If you follow Ashley Miller on Twitter, he retweets everything to do with Dragon's Blood, so you get to see all this really awesome fan art. It's very cool. It was just Marcy nonstop everywhere, and she's not in the game, and people are upset about it. So they are hoping that she ends up in the game, and I'm curious, like, who has to sign away the rights for that? Like, is Valve working on it? Are they working on a deal with Studio Mir here?
Yeah, I always think, what kind of powers and stuff will she have in the game, right? Because she doesn't, from what we could tell so far, she doesn't really have any magical powers. She's just kind of a badass fighter, right? So, but they have that in the games as well, where it's like people not with powers necessarily, so...
Yeah, there's assassins. Like, there's this one hero, Bricky Maru, or Bricky Assassin, whatever, who, like, his ability is that he'll jump on you and always hit you from behind, so that you have to, like, turn to attack him. And if he hits you from behind, he does more damage.
Right. And
can, like, disappear, because he's an assassin kind of thing. So there's a couple of assassin characters that they'll throw a dagger, they'll go invisible, they're harder to hit, they move faster than other people, etc. So she could work. You could definitely make her work.
Okay.
Make a couple of her abilities a little flashier.
All right. So then now I almost want to go down the list. I know Mirana is in the game. I know a lot of people talk about her ability. She shoots like one arrow into at the moon, and then it splits off to a volley of arrows. And I know that's an actual ability in the game.
So in the game, it's Star Storm. So like stars rain down.
Gotcha. So the Invoker is
Invoker is in the game, and he's one of the things that makes Dota very unique because none of the other MOBAs, Smite, Han, League of Legends, Heroes of the Storm, none of them really have a character like Invoker. He's very unique in how he works.
Interesting.
But he's in the game.
Slyrak
is essentially the dragon form of Dragon Knight.
Okay, so they're not two different characters. That's what I was wondering, if they were two separate characters. All right. Bram.
No.
Nope, I didn't think so. So Bram is Davion's squire, which he does use the teleportation scroll, which I know is part of the game.
Yes.
That's how you get back to just your home base, I assume, right?
Yeah.
It's kind of your get out of jail, like, oh, I need to go heal or buy or whatever it is. So
yeah.
So then Selemene, you said, is not a character in the game?
No. Selemene is not a character. So Luna is a character.
Okay.
And she'll like say things about Selemene. But Selemene herself is not in the game.
Gotcha.
Lotuses are in the game.
Gotcha. Yeah. So that one. So Selemene, she was the goddess of the moon. So she seemed like a really powerful person in general. So I just assumed she'd be in the game. So she's not. Interesting.
Nope.
You said Femrin is not in the game either.
No.
But it sounds like they have assassin-like characters. So they kind of have a character already like her in the game.
Yeah, but they can always do more.
Right.
You know, there's space for more.
So yeah, Femrin's a young elf who steals the lotuses from Selemene and the Night Silverwoods and brings it to the Invoker. So the whole thing, we'll get into that in a second. So then, and then I guess Caden is not either. Wow, so there's a lot of characters in this that aren't actually in the game at all. I thought it was the opposite. I thought there would be more characters. Okay, fair enough.
And then Terrorblade is in the game.
Yeah, I mean, Terrorblade is like the end-all, be-all, big baddie. I would be amazed if that he was not in the game, so.
And then some of the Elder Dragons are also in the game.
Okay.
So the female icy Elder Dragon, there's a character called Winter Wyvern that I believe are the same.
Okay. So then tell me, what characters are in the show that aren't in the game that aren't maybe mentioned on this list? There's got to be. Is there any other like secret ones that I didn't pick up on?
I don't think so. I mean, this is pretty much. There's not that many other characters unless you want to start thinking about some of the side elf characters in certain scenes that are definitely not in the game.
Okay.
Yeah, I think the big one would just be at least one of the Elder Dragons. Winter Wyvern is in the game. And so be very interesting to see if Valve works on this.
Was that a pain point for a lot of the community with it? Not having a lot of characters?
I don't think so. The way that the Dota character lore works is they don't really all work together. So picking a subset and then like having loose things, you know, so like Winter Wyvern is a dragon and has a female voice, and then there's like an icy female voice dragon in the show, so you assume they're the same. Right. And then there's like other dragons where like, okay, maybe they're this person in the game, but like it's not direct because there's no like official lore. There wasn't a story mode game created specifically for Dota.
Yeah,
there's
Dota's
like a
all multiplayer, so
yeah, there's a Blizzard story mode that you're copyright like protected from not touching.
Right.
So, you know, the writer actually got to do whatever he wanted with this, really. So you pick a subset of characters and you build a story that works around them. Yeah. And one of the really fascinating things that he said is he was like, it was almost really hard to pick these characters because in an anime or when you're writing a story, every single Dota character is the last of their kind. So they all have an epic story that can be built around them.
Of course. Well, and that's how, again, when you're writing characters for a multiplayer game like this, you don't. I mean, I know just from typically you think of just some origin story, you just make them crazy because it's like it doesn't really matter how they got to this one place. It's just about where they came from. So they could come from every end of the globe that had no relation to each other or correlation, or even time, like time and stuff is irrelevant and all those things. So it's interesting that, yeah, I mean, I guess it makes sense of why they don't have as many characters, because this is very much the series that lends, you could tell Davion's story, and then you just pull a bunch of other characters and create another story that's completely separate that has nothing to do with this original that they can work with. So
yeah,
there's a lot of freedom for that.
So I need the story. I gotta jump into the story because I want to know what you thought. I know we've been.
This is gonna be another long episode, isn't it?
We knew this was gonna happen. So we got to dive into this. We've been talking about there's all these big names. We think the creator's really, really great. And like, I will say, I know this is a positively reviewed podcast. We're positive about everything, but
there's no but after that.
There's no faking it. There's no faking it. The creator was like legitimately awesome to talk to and so exciting. And like the voice actors were these legendary names. So the story, it's only 8 episodes. I think that normally a story arc like this would have taken 30 plus episodes.
Right.
Now, in a brand new show, you don't know and everything, that's a pretty big budget spend. And what actually happened is the episodes were longer, and each episode had about 6 minutes or so cut from it, from the original storyboarding.
Okay.
So what I want to know is, I think the overall story arcs and the character relationships, like what they build with Invoker and Selamene and the daughter and everything, is such a fascinating like side. There's so many sides in this. There's Slyrak and the Elder Dragons and fighting against Terrorblade. There's Selamene and the people not worshiping her anymore, and like Marana stepping away and Luna supporting and the elves being slaughtered. Like, and then there's all the Invoker stuff, and it's so complicated and interwoven. But I do think it's brilliant. But I am curious, like, without your background of knowing who these Dota characters are, how did it feel to you to like ride through this experience?
I mean, I'm in the ball game. We've been getting a lot. I mean, what's his? Oh man, I've just forgotten his name all of a sudden. Who just wrote the Justice League and just did that Army of the Dead. Point is, we just got that 4-hour Justice League cut. So it's now this weird thing that we're starting to see a lot more shows and TVs or movies and stuff just be really long, which I think is great. I personally like it. More content is great. More ways to tell the story. But yeah, you don't need all these super long things to tell a story. You don't need 30 hours to explain one story kind of thing. So, but I will say this show had a lot of moving parts. Like you said, there's a lot of storylines all going at the exact same time, with a lot of stuff being set up for future with a lot of different characters. You start out with just thinking that this is about a guy almost being possessed by a dragon, and it kind of just goes off with all these other characters having all these different, their own little journey at the same time, and they all kind of come together at the end. It worked for me. I was a fan of it as much as I was able to. Ashley Miller did an amazing job writing it, where I could easily follow along. Don't get me wrong. Of course, I would have always liked it didn't need to be 30 episodes long. I wouldn't have minded a 30 episode run for this kind of thing. Of course, I'd be fine. More story, more show is great. A show that you enjoy. But he did a great job condensing all these stories to link up together and match up and have them all running at the same time to all make sense and be cohesive. So yeah, I was able to understand the story and follow along with it without being confused about whose character is who and stuff. Because I had that with some shows recently where, I just watched a movie, Wrath of Man, which is Guy Ritchie, and there's a lot of names and a lot of people, and a lot of stuff, and I'm like, dude, I don't remember who is who at this point. There's some stuff. I mean, that was a pretty straightforward thing, but I'm not going to get into that. Point is, with this one, as much as there was so much going on, I was able to pay attention to all of it, and it all makes sense. So and
Which is
overall the
impressive.
story was good. I enjoyed. It's not a new story necessarily, you know, warring tribes and people being possessed by dragons. That one's a little more unique, but you got people, you know, lots of death, destruction, and a lot of other stuff, and double crossing, and you know, it's pretty typical in these kind of animes and shows and stuff like that. But it's good. It did a really, really good job to make it interesting and enjoyable.
And it was worldwide trending on Netflix. You know, #1 top spot. Dota community was very excited about that.
Yeah.
As we said at the start of the show, Peru and Bolivia and the Philippines and everything, it was holding the #1 spot in those countries. And it got renewed. We're getting another season.
Yes.
And
I would be amazed if it didn't. First off, it was good, but also whatever you get, as soon as you get #1 in the world on Netflix, you're getting another season. It doesn't matter.
Again, I'm bringing up this interview that I did a lot, but it's rare that you get to interview the person who created like a major Netflix show. So I'm gonna be leaning back on this one a lot. But I asked him how many seasons he wanted, since you know you can tell me how many were planned and everything, and he said 3. It's like, oh, I really want 3 seasons, and I'm just like, you haven't heard of Valve, have you?
Yeah. Yeah, they don't know how to count past 2. So
it would be hilarious if Netflix specifically numbered it season 1, season 2, and season 4.
I've always wanted that. I say they just skip the numbers. Same thing, Portal 4. I say as a whole, every game they make should just have the 4 for it. Like, skip 3 altogether. It's a running joke. They should just do it. But no, I liked what he said. I think he has the same idea as someone like James Gunn did for the Guardians series. Everyone, everyone keeps asking, James Gunn is done with Guardians of the Galaxy movies after this next one. And people are like, are you telling me you're killing off the characters? Guardians are gone? He's like, no. Marvel can do whatever the heck they want with them. I'm done with them because I just needed 3 movies to tell my story and how I wanted to tell it and the way they want. And I'm gonna go off on a high note. Like, I got my story. I don't want to just milk these characters forever, which it sounds like Ashley Miller is the exact same way. Is he knows what he wants to do with the show. He feels he needs 3 seasons. I hope we get the next season gets more than 8 episodes. I hope it's like a 12. I don't like this whole 8 episode thing. Go back to the 12 episode or setup. I like that way better, to be honest.
What was Lucifer gave us 10? Was Lucifer 10 a season at first or something?
I don't. It might
There's
have been
some
something
show
on
that
those.
was 10 a season.
I'm okay with 10. I can live with 10.
Yeah.
8 is just not enough for me. But yeah, it sounds
Disney's
like he
been
needs
pulling that on us too.
Yeah.
Not giving us enough
Disney,
episodes.
they have their 6 episodes, and they're weird about it. So, but it's their way that the 8 episode was now made, I think, popular by Netflix to run pilot seasons to see, hey, are people interested in this? If it does well, then we'll start doing 12 episode seasons. So, but it sounds like he knows what he wants to do for the next 3 seasons, which is good. He doesn't feel like, oh, I've got stories for years and multiple seasons. He's like, look, I got a story. I want to tell it. It'll take 3 seasons to do it. After that, we'll see. So,
well, and this one
good.
is Dragon's Blood, and it's about Davion and Dragon Knight.
Right.
And it involves 6 or 7 Dota heroes. You got another 100-something to pick from and do another 3 seasons on a different story arc.
The way that this is set up is perfect. Dota Dragon's Blood will pull some characters. They'll probably introduce new characters. They've got a huge catalog to pick from. So they just pick what they want. They tell their story, and then they're done. And then they just do Dota, the Silver Hawk. I don't know. Whatever the next series is. And they'll be like, oh, this is set on the other side of the world. Maybe it's at the same time, but it's like 12,000 years in the past before the story of Dragon's Blood. You know, they could just go wherever they want with this stuff. So,
yeah. No, it's good. I'm glad you liked it. It was, I
thoroughly enjoyed it. Yeah. And again, I heard the fan reception overall was pretty good, which is rare for a lot of these shows. I mean, most shows based on video game stuff tends to be pretty split. I mean, the Sonic movie overall got pretty good praised, but there's a lot of people who are still hardcore fans of even the games or whatever who might not like it. Tomb Raider is another good example of like, look, I like Tomb Raider, but are they like the video games at all? No. If I was a fan of the video games, I wanted a movie that was just like the video games. That's not what I got. But it was, the movie by itself is fine. So, and I think that's a big thing with a lot of video game shows or whatever it is. Do people actually enjoy it? And it seemed that overall the community was actually pretty happy with this, which is rare. It's a rare thing. So good job on Studio Mir for successfully executing that.
It's rare for an eSports audience to be receptive and positive as well. So that was like really the you probably don't know this. There's an awful lot of drama in the Dota community right now because of toxicity that's happening from this specific individuals, and there's some serious Twitter drama that happened over the past couple of weeks.
It's like every every gaming community right now. There's a lot coming out about people. So
and just it was great to see this person who wasn't involved in Dota at all, who created the show, to be, people enjoyed the show. They were happy for it. They wanted more episodes. And really the main criticism that I heard is people thought that there was a little too much swearing. And I was like, well, they've accomplished its point. And so if that's the negative, then they can have that. That's not for this podcast. I thought it was great. And really, I mean, you're right. The community did like it. They wanted more. And I think that's impressive from the Dota community. I love it, but we're not the most positive bunch. So to have that support was great to see.
That's why the Dota community is not on this show. We're only positive here. So Nessa notwithstanding. So she doesn't count. So, you're right. I think Miller and the studio did a good job with the direction of this and stuff. Like you said, I think it was a positive light for the community with everything going on. It was good to see that something like this come out and people actually enjoy and have fun with it. So I like the direction of the story. I like the world that they've built around it. And again, there's a lot of freedom taken. You can tell from the show. You can tell that it's not a super crazy high budget animation. I mean, there's definitely some money into this. There are some incredibly well done scenes and just gorgeous landscapes that they've created for this. So, and Studio Mir is no slouch when it comes to this stuff. So they've done an amazing job with this, and I'm excited. I'm excited for the next season. I enjoyed it more than I expected I was. Not that I was expecting to not enjoy it, but
Are you ready to give it a
record.
rating?
So, yeah, do we want to give it a rating? I guess
what's
give
your
it,
rating?
Yeah, I guess my rating's more important than yours. You automatically have to like it. It's your job. So
that's true.
I will give it I'll give it an 18 million.
An 18 million.
A 20 million. I'll give it a 20 million.
20 million.
Except the caveat is 20 million back in 2015. So
got it.
There you go.
Got it.
So inflation notwithstanding.
Yeah. So I'm gonna give it. We'll go with 31 days of raising a child in the Bay Area.
Okay.
That's gonna be my rating.
I don't know if that's a good rating, but I'll we'll say that's a great thing. Hey, raising a child is a good thing.
31 children. Sorry, 31 children raised in the Bay Area.
Raising 31 children in the Bay Area. That's a lot of kids to have in your house all at once. Sounds like a very miserable time for you. Really fun for everyone else. So
exactly. So it's a really high rating.
Yeah, it's a really high rating, I guess. You got 31 very high enjoyment. Yeah, if you got 31 kids, make sure you take care of them for at least 31 days. After that, I don't know.
Okay, so I'm going to pose the question to you for where the next season goes.
Okay.
We have this relationship budding, growing, tentatively, whatever, between Davion and Marana.
Ooh.
There is that romantic element.
Of course,
there.
As every show must have. And I'll eat those up. I don't care how overdone it is. Give it to me every time. I'll take it.
There's
I love it.
also the Invoker, Salamene.
Okay.
Terrorblade, like, manipulated. Right? You don't know if Invoker or Terrorblade's actually worse for the universe.
Right.
When you, like, get through it. Right?
Well,
so here's the question.
We actually stayed away from spoilers pretty well here, but I will say, I think the Invoker is... Terrorblade's using... This is the slight spoiler. Invoker is using... Or Terrorblade is using the Invoker, but really Invoker is using Terrorblade to bring his daughter back. Like, that's the end-all, be-all. So, I don't think the Invoker's... I think Terrorblade is worse for it, and I think the Invoker knows that, but he just doesn't care. And so he's okay with the world being recreated as long as the caveat is he's allowed to be with his daughter again. So
doesn't that make Invoker worse because he's like egging Terrorblade on and helping him? Fully knowing?
No, I think the guy taking over. You know, it's like the Black Order versus Thanos. The children of Thanos aren't worse than Thanos because they're helping Thanos. You know, they want what Thanos wants, but, you know, Thanos is worse. Nessa's on top of Thanos, though, how worse she is, so.
The human race would survive, all right? With my plan, they would survive.
Yeah. After she kills 99% of them, so.
They would survive.
That's probably more than what the Terrorblade wants to do. I'm sure... Actually, that's probably a lie. I think he wants to eliminate 100% of the human race, but...
Okay, so my question is, do you think that Salamene and the history of the relationship is going to redeem Invoker and there will be a redemption arc there? Or do you think that he's long gone and they're gonna have to kill him or do something else to redeem that arc?
Oh, I think he's gone. I hope he's gone. Okay. I'll put it that way. Yeah. I hope he is. I think he was written in a great way where he was playing 4D chess when everyone was playing regular chess kind of thing. He had all these things set up with manipulating people. The Invoker's a smart little boy. So I think he's way past redemption at this point, and he knows it himself. So he's committed to this. So they're going to need to do something to stop him. And I don't think we're going to see redemption. I think we're going to see hesitation at times, but I think they're going to do what Star Wars didn't do and they should have done with Kylo Ren, which is after Kylo Ren killed his own father, bro, there's no coming back from that. Don't act like there is, okay? And just like the Invoker has done, he's killing the moon goddess and stuff and doing it for his daughter. Look, he ain't coming back. He cares more about his daughter than any other living soul on the planet combined. So that's what he wants.
Got it. Okay. Well, you know my thoughts. I think it's great. I think you're right. I agree with you. I don't want him to be redeemed by memories of the time past. Like, let Salamene be evil. Let Invoker be evil.
Yeah.
Let them all duke it out and see what, like, Slyrak and Davian and Moran and all can accomplish. I don't know. That's where I'm gonna leave it. With our raising 31 children in the Bay Area and a 20 million rating. But ratings are great. They help things out. So wherever you're listening to this podcast, if it is a place where you can drop a rating, 12 out of 5 stars, we really appreciate that. Leave a comment, drop a like, let us know what you're thinking, what you thought of the podcast, or thoughts about what we talked about. All those things greatly appreciated. And if you want to see more on the whole social media things, Pause Reviewed Pod, POS Reviewed POD, Twitter and Instagram. You can also find us on YouTube, Podbean, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, all those wonderful places. All those wonderful places.
Yep, and make sure you check out our last episodes. We've had 3 episodes so far. This is number 4. Our last one was about Marvel stuff. It was Falcon and the Winter Soldier, so it was good. We got more episodes definitely planned. We talked about it last week, so we definitely know what we're doing because I totally didn't forget about what we talked about. So our next episode is planned. It's Resident Evil. It's not going to be Resident Evil. Nessa refuses to do horror stuff. It's fine. But I've been thinking a lot about Resident Evil, so I'll get her. We'll get her. We'll get her. All right. But yeah, not sure we're doing. You'll figure it out next week when I figure it out too. So, anyways, thank you guys all for listening, and you guys have a good rest of your week.